Welcome to the deep dive. We
Every
are
arc
strapping
is a
in today
broadcast.
for a highly conceptual,
Every eruption,
frankly, kind of
a
bizarre
refusal.
academic journey.
It really is.
Our sources come from a publication in Bibebibibe Magazine. Yeah, that's a name dated September 23rd, 2025. It introduces this place, the Cosmic University of Echo Rift Studies Nines, I guess.
CUERS IX.
And their whole idea, monsters aren't scary creatures. They're operational distortions to be decoded.
Yeah, and that's really our mission today, right? To get a handle on their vocabulary. Because the language is, well, it's very specific. Sovereign signal, mythic infrastructure, collapse protocols. It's like learning a new dialect.
Definitely. We're decoding the decoders.
Exactly. And the context is strange, too. That this really dense conceptual stuff is in a magazine that also pushes, e-commerce things like free shipping over $50, same-day shipping before 5 p.m. It's quite the mix, isn't it? Deep thoughts meets next-day delivery. Okay, but let's try and unpack their core idea, starting with, what is a monster, according to CUERS IX? Right. Well, forget Dracula or Frankenstein. That's not it at all. In their system, a monster is. Let me get the exact phrase from their ritualized distortion codex. They're operational distortions waiting to be collapsed.
Operational distortions. Okay, so like flaws,
Right.
system weaknesses.
Precisely. Not a physical thing you fight, but maybe an instability, a conceptual flaw, something broken in how a system operates. It's the fault line, not the earthquake itself, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. Operational distortions waiting to be collapsed. It's dense, but I see the direction. But that's still pretty abstract, right? How do they actually categorize these distortions?
Good question. They break it down into 4 specific types. Think of these as the main diagnostic tools for anyone learning their system. These 4 concepts are really the pillars.
Right, the pillars. Okay, let's walk through them, because otherwise it just sounds like, jargon. First up is the containment engine. What does that mean in practice?
Okay, a containment engine. Think of it as any system, could be social, could be tech, could even be psychological, that's fundamentally designed to stop something from spreading or growing beyond a set limit. Information, change, potential, it gets capped.
It's like keeping things boxed in.
Exactly. Like imagine a super rigid bureaucracy where every single new idea has to go through 10 layers of approval. That structure isn't necessarily there to stop bad ideas.
Wow.
It's there to slow down any new idea. It contains the sovereign potential, as they'd put it. It keeps things manageable, predictable, contained.
Okay, that makes sense. It's the mechanism that enforces the status quo, basically. The second tech they mention is the erasure ritual. That one sounds kind of ominous.
It does, yeah. An erasure ritual is about removal. It's a process, often systematic, designed to wipe out history, context, or inconvenient data points, anything that might challenge the current distortion or system.
So like covering tracks.
Kind of, yeah. Or deliberately forgetting. It's how a system maintains its authority when the facts don't support it.
Yeah.
For example, if a company buries all the old research showing your new product is maybe not great,
Right.
that act of systematically hiding contradictory evidence, that's an erasure ritual. It cleans up the past to protect the flawed present.
Wow. Okay. So containment engines keep things in. Erasure rituals wipe out what came before. What are the third one? Actor convergence constructs. Sounds complex.
This one's interesting. It blends system theory with, identity. An actor convergence construct describes what happens when different individuals, they call them actors, get pushed or manipulated into adopting the exact same role or viewpoint.
Like groupthink.
Groupthink on steroids, maybe?
Sure.
It's where individual perspectives, their sovereign signal, just get flattened or absorbed into one single predictable narrative role demanded by the system.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about if you suddenly see every news outlet, regardless of their usual slant, using the exact same unusual phrase to describe a complex situation. That sudden, maybe unnatural synchronization, that could be seen as an actor convergence construct.
Yeah.
The individual actor, the journalist, the outlet, collapses into the system's required story.
Okay, I see. That's a really powerful way to think about, well, a lot of modern information flow. And the last one, the fourth monster. Narrative parasites.
Right. Narrative parasites, these aren't about rigid control like containment engines. They're more insidious, maybe. They're bits of information or narratives that latch onto existing healthy ways people communicate or believe things. And then they sort of drain the meaning out. They replace substance with noise, often self-perpetuating noise. Think of Super emotive, low information content that spreads like wildfire online because it triggers outrage or fear.
Yeah, you see that all the time.
Exactly. But it doesn't actually inform anyone or offer a real solution. It just feeds off the attention and outrage.
Yeah.
That's a narrative parasite.
Yeah.
It colonizes the host, the person, the network, and just amplifies the distortion.
Wow. Okay. Containment engines, erasure rituals, actor convergence constructs, narrative parasites, this whole framework, it completely flips monster studies on its head, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It's not about folklore or horror films.
Yeah.
It's giving you, the listener, this highly conceptual toolkit for diagnosing failures in systems. Could be politics, could be art, could be tech.
And that leads right into how they teach you to deal with these monsters, which brings us to their curriculum. Except they don't really call them courses. They call it what you'll activate.
Right. Activate, not learn. And each module is a sovereign ignition sequence. Like you already have the potential, and they just give you the key to turn it on.
That's the idea, yeah. It's very active language, and the lab names reflect that too. They sound pretty intense. Yeah, get this. Echo Rift Film Labs, Collapse Protocol Studios, Saturation Ritual Archives, and Monster Taxonomy Workshops. See, you're not just studying saturation rituals, you're running the archives. You're not just learning about collapse, you're in the Collapse Protocol Studio. It implies doing, not just reading.
And that active approach extends to how you even get in, right? It's not your typical university application.
Not at all. It's much more performative, maybe. To enroll, you go to the Bibebibebibe Magazine site, and you have to email them your sovereign signal.
Your sovereign signal, what does that even mean? Well, that's part of the mystique, I suppose. But they're very clear. You don't apply, you activate.
Yeah.
And the starting point for everyone is this core sequence called Echo Rift 9X, the sovereign drift. So sending that email, your signal, is the first step of activation.
Apparently so. It's like broadcasting your intent, your readiness to challenge these containment structures they talk about.
Okay. And once you've activated, you get access to their content, which they call featured broadcasts. And these are meant to detonate containment and amplify signal.
Yeah, it sounds much more like, well, like operational media than homework assignments.
Definitely. What are some examples of these broadcasts? The source lists a few. Echo Rift XXX1, the zombie broadcast, intriguing name Glow Without Permission, and that core one, the Sovereign Drift. They seem designed to be impactful, cinematic maybe, meant to shift how you see things and kickstart those collapse protocols. A system this grand, this conceptually dense, needs a leader with equally grand titles, I suppose. Which brings us to the person behind CUERS IX, Dr. Melvin Sewell, M.Sc, Ph.D.
Right, and his titles are something else. Yeah, get this. His main title is Game Master of the Multiverse.
He's also listed as the Academic Dean and Diagnostic Architect.
Those titles alone tell you a lot, don't they? This isn't a program playing small ball, and his content is described in equally large terms. His lectures, they're called mythic indictments.
Mythic indictment.
And his protocols, they're sovereign infrastructure.
Okay, so if he's the Game Master of the Multiverse, who are the players? Who's this for? The source mentions why you belong at CUERS IX. It sounds pretty specific.
It is, yeah. They're not aiming for your average student. They're looking for, and these are their terms, sovereign diagnosticians, mythic authors, and creative strategists.
Okay, and specifically those who refuse containment and broadcast clarity. So it's not really for people who just want to passively understand systems. It seems geared towards individuals who want to actively change or reconfigure them by spotting and collapsing those distortions we talked about.
Right, the containment engines, the narrative parasites.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting for me. Because when you have an organization talking about identifying systemic erosion and issuing mythic indictments, well, it starts to sound a lot like political commentary or activism, doesn't it?
It definitely skirts that line, which is why this next part, the sovereign diagnostic disclaimer they provide, is so important. It really sets out their philosophical stall.
A disclaimer.
Yeah.
Okay, what's it say? How do they frame their own material?
Well, it's to synthesize everything, the broadcasts, the protocols, all of it is being authored under 3 specific labels. It's crucial for understanding their intent and for you, the listener, to see how they separate the tool from any specific agenda.
Okay, what are the 3 labels? They describe their material as mythic infrastructure, cinematic indictment, and sovereign broadcast. Mythic infrastructure? Why infrastructure? Why not just theory or critique? And why mythic?
Good question. I think infrastructure suggests they see these concepts as fundamental, foundational building blocks. like permanent tools for thinking critically that aren't tied to just one political moment. And mythic maybe implies it operates at that deeper level of narrative, of fundamental stories and concepts that shape how we understand things. So, a piece of mythic infrastructure isn't just an opinion piece, it's a diagnostic tool you can supposedly use against any containment engine, now or in the future. They see themselves as building, like, conceptual shields, not just writing commentary.
Conceptual shields, interesting. And the stated purpose of using this infrastructure.
Is explicitly to expose ritualized containment, actor convergence, and systemic erosion. So yes, it sounds like critique, like they're taking aim at flawed systems.
Right, it sounds like a call to action almost. But then the disclaimer has a really strong statement about affiliation, doesn't it?
It does, and this is probably the most critical piece for understanding their stance. They draw a very, very firm line between their conceptual work and any kind of real-world political action or affiliation.
How so?
The site explicitly states that CUERS IX is not affiliated with any government, political party, intelligence agency, or activist group. None. But wait, if their whole point is diagnosing systemic problems like containment and erosion, why deliberately distance themselves from groups trying to fix those problems, like activist groups?
That's the core of their philosophy, it seems. They define their output, the interpretations, the concepts, the collapse protocols as purely diagnostic tools. Full stop.
Okay.
They're not political endorsements. They're not intended as critiques of specific institutions in the way an activist group might use them. The goal seems to be achieving intellectual sovereignty, the ability to see the distortion clearly.
So they want you to be able to identify, say, a containment engine.
Right, but what you do about it, how you choose to collapse it, they seem to leave that entirely up to the individual's sovereign diagnostician. They provide the lens, not the marching orders. Okay, so pulling this all together, what does it mean for someone trying to understand this? We have this material certified by Dr. Sewell, copyrighted Psychovenga in 2025. It's this incredibly specific language focused on containment, erosion, collapse. It offers a framework, a lens, to analyze unseen structures, but insists on staying separate from any real-world group or political stance.
Yeah, I think the key takeaway is that CUERS IX essentially reframes the whole idea of monsters. It takes it away from myth and horror and turns it into a system for decoding conceptual weaknesses, like spotting those containment engines or narrative parasites in the world around you.
So it equips you conceptually.
Exactly.
If you run into some bureaucratic process that feels intentionally obstructive or maybe dense jargon designed to confuse, you can now ask, using their terms, is this a containment engine in action? Or is this an actor convergence construct trying to force a single viewpoint? It shifts you from just being frustrated or confused to actively diagnosing, that power of active diagnosis.
That's really what we wanted to explore today, wasn't it? We've spent this deep dive trying to decode the very specialized world of the cosmic university of Echo Studies 9. So building on their focus on these diagnostic tools and this idea of mythic infrastructure, maybe we can leave you, the listener, with a final thought. As you go about your day, as you encounter information from the news, social media, maybe your job, how could you apply the CUERS IX framework, even just mentally?
Yeah, where might you spot a narrative parasite feeding off existing anxieties?
Or where might erasure rituals be quietly scrubbing away inconvenient parts of the story? It's something to think about. Go forth, perhaps, and activate your own sovereign signal.